I'm going to start this episode by saying some nice things about Marcell Ozuna. There are a lot of players at his stage of his career, what he had accomplished, he would not have taken a bench role this well. He still showed up. He was still a positive force in that clubhouse. And it wasn't like he was completely lazy. He did work. He did want it to try to happen. But at the end of the day, there's no other choice. The Pirates needed to get better on the roster, and this is a case of addition by subtraction. Good morning, and welcome to OffBeat here on North Shore 9, presented by FanDuel. My name is Alex Stumpf, and this is a daily look at your Pittsburgh Pirates, who made a transaction Wednesday that a lot of people have been clamoring for a while. Marcell Ozuna has been released. And look, there are times where you have to really look in the mirror, and whenever they're choosing Ronny Simon over you, because Ronny Simon is probably a better force against left-handed pitching, that says a lot. Now, Simon did have an upward mobility clause, to my understanding. That played a factor in this, facilitated it, but the Pirates didn't add a right-handed hitter this trade deadline. And they have greatly struggled against left-handed pitching this year. Going by weighted on-base average, WOBA, they had a 299 WOBA against left-handed starters this year. That's the fifth worst in baseball. If you prefer traditional stats, 241 batting average, 296 on-base percentage, 383 slugging percentage. And in a way, it was kind of expected. One of the big things the Pirates wanted to do this winter was improve the offense, and their path to doing so was they had to get more left-handed. That was specifically said by Ben Cherington, that they wanted to add more left-handed bats. And mission accomplished. They did. They did. Brandon Lau was a great signing, or great trade. Ryan O'Hearn, really solid signing. But whenever you look at this team, it's like, okay, two lefties who don't exactly have a great track record against lefty pitching in their career. Spencer Horwitz was their best hitter in 2025. He doesn't have a great track record against southpaws. O'Neal Cruz had a historically bad year against left-handed pitching. It's like, who's going to hit the lefties? So after they secured the left-handed hitters that they wanted, they pivoted to getting a right-handed hitter, a veteran, someone who can mash, someone who has a history of hitting home runs, and they went after Gino Suarez first. And they were in the running. One of the last two teams didn't work out. And days after not signing Suarez, they pivoted to Ozuna. And I really don't know how to interpret that move other than just throwing whatever money you had left at whatever hitter was left in February. It's a really bad contract. $12 million, $10.5 paid this year, $1.5 whenever that option is bought out. It didn't seem to affect the Pirates' trade deadline plans. They were still able to greatly improve the bullpen. But you can't tell me that an 8-figure mistake didn't have an impact on payroll, on strategy, on everything this year. It was a big swing for an accomplished hitter in his career, but one that was clearly on the decline. As soon as it happened, I was critical online, like, hey, there are the hip problems. The bat speed is dipping. There are a lot of red flags here. And there was really no point. At no point this year did Marcell Ozuna look like Marcell Ozuna of a few years past. He was a great hitter 2 or 3 years ago. Big down year in 25, and I don't know. We'll see if this is the end of the road or not for him now. I did not like the signing whenever it happened. I did not see it being this bad. I will admit that. I did not foresee it being this bad. He was worth -1 WAR, according to Baseball Reference. Out of curiosity, I went to Baseball Reference and I looked at what other free agents the Pirates have signed that produced -1 WAR over the life of their contract. I've got a list here for you, real quick. We're going to start with Austin Hedges, who gets an asterisk here because Baseball Reference WAR for catchers doesn't take framing into account. Framing is valuable. You are stealing runs. He is elite at that. -1 WAR on Baseball Reference, 0.9 WAR on Fangraphs, which does take framing into account for catcher WAR. I'm more inclined to believe Fangraphs is probably a better reflection of the value he brought as a player, but just for the sake of completion, -1 WAR. I'm also going to throw two minor league free agents, Jake Woodford and Derek Holland. Both of them signed minor league free agents or free agent deals, had their contracts selected, produced -1 WAR each. Yes, they both fall under this category of free agent contracts, but it's also a minor league deal. It wasn't guaranteed money. I think that's a different category. But okay, those three out of the way. There are 7 other players outside of Marcell Ozuna who put up -1 WAR. Going by order, you have Derek Bell in 2001, the worst contract in franchise history. There is no question. -1.2 WAR in 2020 or in 2001, and then Operation Shutdown in 2002, the worst ever. Randall Simon, -1.7 WAR in 2004. He was an okay hitting platoon first baseman in 2003. I see the vision on why they brought him back. They were able to flip him in August of the last year to Chicago, rebuilding club. Sure, why not? Didn't work out. 2006, Joe Randa, -1 WAR. He was washed, but he did have a pretty good year the year beforehand. He was part of those freak show Pirates. You could have made a worse signing. At the end of the day, it didn't matter in 2006, whatever. No one player was fixing the 2006 Pirates. 2007, I hope I say this right. Masumi Kuwata. Apologies if I didn't. -1 WAR. Pitcher from Japan who pitched over 20 years there, spent the final year of his pro career in Pittsburgh. Okay. I don't know how much analysis you need there. You had someone who had a 2-decade career in the NPB. Give him a shot here, is what it is. 2010, Bobby Crosby, -1.2 WAR. Former rookie of the year. You could view him as a utility man, compete, for a job. Maybe there's some upside. 2010, you're still just throwing stuff up against the wall to see if anything sticks. Bad signing, doesn't really matter at the end of the day. 2012 was the first, and maybe outside of Ozuna, the only one that actually mattered, for the team that it was. The 2012 Pirates signed Rod Barajas. He put up -1 WAR. Just couldn't throw out a runner, wasn't a hitter anymore, finishing out his career. Bad signing, but they didn't have another catcher, is what it is. And then 2022, Yoshi Tsutsugo, -1.6 WAR. But even then, he had that run at the end of 2021 where people were excited about him. That was a celebrated move whenever he re-signed. The Pirates and Yoshi actually discussed a multi-year deal, but Yoshi wanted a 1-year prove-it deal. Wonder how he feels about that now. But yeah, those are the players in the 21st century who have signed a contract who have produced as poorly as Marcell Ozuna has produced. But in all of those cases, I really see some sort of path of why the Pirates made that signing. Even Derek Bell, they thought 2001 they were going to compete. If it wasn't for all the pitching injuries, maybe they would have. So they got a veteran outfielder. It didn't work out. Yoshi Tsutsugo, okay, let's see if he can improve another year and then flip him for a prospect. It didn't work out. Bobby Crosby, former rookie of the year. It didn't work out. Stuff like that. It is what it is. It is what it is. But you at least saw the logic of how they got to this person. I never saw it with Marcell Ozuna outside of they failed to get other right-handed hitters. And whenever I look at this, who signed a free agent after Ryan O'Hearn, I'm going to give the Pirates the benefit of the doubt. Their first priority was to get more left-handed. Okay, they signed Ryan O'Hearn. Looking at the free agents after that, who are they pivoting to? There weren't a lot of right-handed hitters who made a big impact. Like Paul Goldschmidt is the only one that I really see here, and I don't think he was ever going to leave New York. He wasn't going to come to Pittsburgh for a part-time first base, part-time DH role. But that wasn't what Ozuna was supposed to be. It was supposed to be they added 3 big hitters this winter, and he was the third. He was going to be the DH, the number 5 hitter. And they gave him every opportunity to try to right the ship. They gave him too many opportunities. At the end of the day, whenever we look back at the Marcell Ozuna time in Pittsburgh, nobody can say the Pirates didn't try. They really genuinely tried their best to honor a veteran player and let him try to figure some stuff out. But here we are in August. Here we are with a team that is a couple games back of a wild card. They need to get better. They need to get better. And one of the ways they could easily get better is if they could just hit a left-handed starter every once in a while. That was supposed to be Ozuna's role, and he hasn't. And instead, they're giving it to Ronny Simon, who was a waiver claim last year, who suffered a pretty significant shoulder injury, re-signed as a minor league free agent, and him activating an upward mobility clause forced the Pirates' hand to get rid of Ozuna. Of all people, Ronny Simon. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm knocking on the guy here because he's had a really good year in AAA. And maybe he has really grown as a player and he is a breakout candidate and he can be, part of this equation. We will see if he could be part of this, stretch down the road. Can he help the 2026 Pirates get to the postseason? But it's not a good sign that a light hitting, in his career, utility man is the guy who you lose your job to. He was supposed to help against left-handed pitching. So I look back just to see how the Marcell Ozuna era ended. And I look back at his last 25 games played, which goes back to May 27. We are going back over 2 months to see him play 25 games. That says a lot as is. He is a part-time platoon player at this point of his career. He is getting a lot of at-bats against left-handed pitching. Those are the opportunities. That is the lane that the Pirates are putting him in. And in those 25 games, 3 home runs, 8 RBI, 689 OPS. And oh yeah, the Pirates went 6-19 in those games. The Pirates gave him every opportunity to try to get better. They, maybe to the detriment of the team towards the end. But at the end of the day, they needed to get better. They had to find a way to get better. And I just don't see how Marcell Ozuna was going to be part of that. And evidently, the team felt the same way. Thank you so much for listening to OffBeat here on North Shore 9, presented by FanDuel. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe wherever you find podcasts, or check us out on YouTube to see my smiling face. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk again tomorrow.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.